Pearl Harbor was attacked 71 years ago today. The attack was conducted without warning. It lasted 110 minutes from 7:55 a.m. until 9:45 a.m. A total of 2,335 United States servicemen were killed and 1,143 were wounded. 68 civilians were killed and 35 were wounded. The Japanese lost only 65 men, with an additional soldier being captured. Pearl Harbor is on the south side of the Hawaiian island of Oahu and is the home of the United States Naval Base, and of course brought the United States into World War II. It is interesting to note that what ultimately prompted the war. We in America generally believe that the wars in the Middle East over the past 2 decades have been driven by oil, which is true. But the fact remains that the heart of the dispute between Japan and China and other oil-rich territories in Southeast Asia date back as far as the 1920s. It is interesting to note that of the war plans of both countries, the United States and Japan, were both fraught with errors. The United States believed wrongly that Pearl Harbor would not be the target for the Japanese, but rather the Philippines. This was speculated based on sea lanes and supply lines to Japan from the south. Conversely, the primary goal of the Japanese was to destroy U.S. morale by targeting the prestige ships of the Navy, the battleships, when in fact the aircraft carriers, the Enterprise, the Lexington, and the Saratoga, which were arguably more critical to the Pacific theater, were absent from Pearl Harbor at the time of the attack. In the wake of the attack, 15 medals of honor, 51 Navy crosses, 53 Silver Stars, 4 Navy and Marine Corps medals, 1 Distinguished Service Medal, and 3 Bronze Star medals were awarded to the American servicemen who distinguished themselves in combat at Pearl Harbor. Additionally, a special military award, the Pearl Harbor Commemorative Medal, was later authorized for all military veterans of the attack. The day after the attack, Roosevelt delivered his infamous speech to a joint session of Congress, calling for a formal declaration of war on the Empire of Japan. So the challenge I want to leave all of you with today, knowing the responsibility we have to keep the remembrance alive, falls on us, our children, and our grandchildren. And as we members of the American Legion must never forget the rallying cry, "Remember Pearl Harbor," nor the stirring words of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who proclaimed on December 7, 1941, is indeed a date that lives in infamy. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everyone for being here, because the thought that remembered Pearl Harbor is rapidly disappearing. I can talk to 50 people in a row and ask them what December 7, 1941 meant to them, and they got a blank look. And I mean all ages, young, old, middle, they couldn't tell me. That's how far gone it is. The thing that really shook me up when 60 years after Pearl Harbor, 9/11, New York, Twin Towers was bombed. And you saw what happened there. That brought me back to Pearl Harbor. Same identical situation. Nice sunshiny day, people were doing their normal thing, and all of us just happened. Exactly the same way as Pearl Harbor. I could relive Pearl Harbor, the same thing over again. This morning, I made coffee on the stove. So I'm there this morning, sitting in my car, drinking a cup of coffee at 7:30. And I remembered 71 years ago what I was doing at 7:30 that morning. I couldn't believe all this time that I'm still here, and that took place way back then. I want to thank you all for coming, and actually I'll tell you this, I'm grateful myself that I'm still here. So like they say, how the saying goes, I'm glad to be here, I'm glad to be at my age any place. So there you have it. But no, that was a major incident that happened in 1941. Starting in World War II. That's a major event. It changed the country entirely. We're a different country. And likewise with 9/11, changed us again. So we better be on the ball and be always alert, because this could happen again. And today, if you look around you, these countries that are against us, there's North Korea, there's Iran, there's China, there's Russia. They're all around us. And we better be wise to the fact. And it makes me shudder to think we're going to cut down our military. Why? To save money or what? We may not have a country if we don't take care of it. We better all be wise to the fact that we're in bad times. It isn't getting any better. I'm afraid it's getting a lot worse. So, with that, I want to thank you all again for coming, and that's about all I can say today. Thank you very much.